guys, it's Jarek the Herb Dragon from Red Dragon Airsoft. Got another review today. This one is of a gun that people have been telling me to get for a long time, and I finally decided to pick it up. And I'm pretty impressed with it. I've gotten experiences with it before, but I'm not really much of a bolt action fan. But a lot of people love bolt actions. They're really accurate, they're really easy to shoot. You just pick it up and you automatically know what to do with it. It's just really one of the natural forms of shooting. So there's a good reason to like it. It's just never really fit my role as assault or CQB. But it's by no means a bad gun. It's a pretty dang good gun. You also notice it has the TSD name on it. So what this really is a well L96, but rebranded by TSD, which is why it says the TSD SD96B on the box. Having the TSD name on it is not a bad thing. What most companies do when they rebrand something is they basically take someone else's gun, stamp their name on it, and jack up the price about $20, $30, and say, hey look, we got a cool gun, and it's, you know, this company's name on it, so it must be good. And a lot of people fall into it. See, what TSD does is a little different. What TSD does is they usually add in something really worth it, and they don't jack up the price. Usually they add in another magazine, scope, O-rings, they metal hop-up unit, and they do a full quality control just check. So the quality control is really great. So if it has a TSD name on it, don't be discouraged to buy it. Go ahead and buy it. TSD is overall a very nice company, and I've had great experiences with TSD, as you can tell by the poster behind me. So moving on, the box is a standard TSD box. It's pretty flashy, pretty nice, but hey, who cares about the box? Let's see what's inside of it. Inside the box, you'll find your instruction manual, which is by TSD. It's a little bit short, but it's full English. There's no Chinglish in here, and you can overall get what you need to do. It comes with a JBU scope and O-rings to attach it to the gun. This is great because JBU makes nice quality scopes. This isn't a cheap quality scope by any means. It's incredibly clear when you're looking through it. Some packaging in the box so it doesn't get ruined during shipping. And a jamming rod. A few Allen wrench keys. A bag of BBs. These are actually decent quality. You can go ahead and use these all you want. They're TSD BBs, and TSD BBs I've found to be really, really nice, which is actually, they were what I was using in the accuracy test of this gun. So, a speed loading tool, which I still have some TSD .28 in here. And it also has a special lip piece so you can load up the magazines with ease. To my surprise, an actually decent sling. You can actually use this. The sling mounts are actually good enough to not break on you. So if you want to use the sling, go ahead and do that. I was kind of surprised. I figured they would be no good and low quality. But they aren't. They're decent enough to use. An extra 30 round magazine, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're using a bolt action gun, it's more than you think. And you get the gun. So obviously, as you can tell, it is the L96 or the AWP, whatever you want to call it. Let me go ahead and show you the magazine, what I was talking about earlier. Here's the magazine. Like I said, they're a 30 round magazine. They have this little springy thing. You have to hold that down. Take your speed loader, push it to the top like this, and then you can go ahead and load it up. So you'll be using the speed loader a lot, as this isn't like a high cap or anything, it's just a normal spring tension magazine. The reason this springs down like that is so when you eject the mag, it ejects and pops out of the gun. That just makes it easier to reload and a lot more simple. You'll probably also notice the mag well is way up in the front, opposed to the actual one being back here. Reason being, this is pretty much the same with most airsoft bolt actions. Reason being is there needs to be somewhere for the spring. So the spring takes up from about there to there. It has a pretty tense spring. This one's shooting about 470 feet per second pretty consistently. So it's shooting hot enough to be a sniper, definitely. And that's what this one is meant for. It's meant to be sniping. Surprisingly though, the bolt isn't too hard to pull back. It is spring, but as you can see, I really have no problem pulling the spring back at all. And the trigger resistance is perfect. It's not too little, it's not too much. So overall, great spring tension right there. So, like I said, not too little, not too much, just enough to be good. A lot of this does have to do with TSD's great quality control though, because this is greased up nicely. It flows very smoothly. And if you can get a close-up, and I'm not going to do this or anything, but you can see the nice quality grease. It's not like the disgusting grease, the black stuff or anything. It's just lubed perfectly. Alright, so moving on. Next thing is the different parts of the gun. The upper receiver is full metal. And obviously this includes the O-rings and the scope, which this gun does come with. And the lower receiver down here is all plastic with the exception of the rail, the sling mounts, and the rear sling mounts back here. But even though this is plastic, it's not low quality plastic by any means. You'd have to do a lot to fracture it or crack it or do anything, so don't feel worried about that breaking. And also the magazine is metal, which was a pleasant surprise. And as I mentioned, it does come with 2 magazines, which 30 rounds in a magazine doesn't sound like a lot, and I did say this already, but I'm going to show you why. When you have to do this after every shot, 30 rounds last a lot more than you'd think. I did also mention it shoots about 470 feet per second. That's actually great if you're going into competitions and whatnot. Reason being is most places will allow up to around 500 feet per second for sniper rifles. Not for AEGs, obviously, just for sniper rifles. So unless you're one of the few rare spots that don't allow that high a velocity, you won't have to do anything to the spring. So it'll be perfect as is. And I would also recommend using .28s at the very least, because it's shooting so hot, and I did use .28s in the test, and those seem to be working pretty well, but .30s would be even better. I just didn't have any on me. So .28s, great thing to use. And let's go on to the accuracy as well. The accuracy in this is amazing. This is a bolt-action sniper, so it better be accurate, and it far exceeded my expectations. 150 feet, I was hitting it every single time. Even when I was just doing the thing where I zoomed the camera all the way out, just kind of show the regular shooting without really aiming or anything. What I was doing was just kind of pulling it up, looking through the scope, shooting, going back down, pull the bolt back, and then doing that again. And I was hitting it almost every single time. And that was 150 feet away with ease, really. So I wish I had more room to do the accuracy test, because I can see you easily hitting things, well, not easily, but I can see you hitting things out to 250 feet away with this gun. So it's definitely a very accurate gun. The magazine being up here and shortening the barrel from about there to there is definitely not a bad thing. Well, it definitely didn't hinder it is more of what I mean. It's definitely really accurate. The trigger has the double safety. It has an extra piece on it, so that if you push the outside of the trigger by accident, it will not go off. So it's always nice to have that little extra safety. The actual safety on the gun is a little piece right here that you flip back and it locks the trigger and it locks the bolt from going back. You can't do anything to it. You have to take it off safe, and then you'll be able to pull the bolt back and pull the trigger. The sling mounts are in the front and back, and they are ambidextrous. There's one on this side and on the other side that you can't see. And that's the same on the back, and they're all metal. They're very solidly placed on the gun. Don't worry about them breaking. The stock is 3 different pieces, so if you wanted to shorten up the stock, you could. Although, to me, it feels perfectly fine. I don't think anyone will really need it to be any shorter. I would actually recommend getting a bipod, though, because that is obviously going to work best for snipers. Like I mentioned, the bolt isn't too hard to pull back, and chances are your left arm is going to be more tired than your right arm having to hold the gun up most of the time. So go ahead and get a bipod if you're sniping. It's just going to be a lot more convenient. Like I did mention earlier, it does come with a scope, and it's a very, very nice scope. This is a very clear scope. It's a 3.9 by 45, so it's definitely very nice. It has its own magnifications. You'll have to dial it in, which you can do. I didn't do it in the accuracy test, but you can do so. Something I forgot to mention, this gun, when you get it in the box, will come in 2 different parts. It'll come in the upper receiver and the lower receiver, the plastic stock itself and lower frame. Don't fret, it's really easy to put it together. Really, all you got to do is slip the barrel assembly and bolt assembly right into the frame. The magazine release will lock in place right there, and then all you need to do is screw in this Allen wrench key, which is actually in the body, so you can't lose it, which is a nifty little idea. But just screw that in, and then it's solidly in place, and it's not going to go anywhere. So it's really easy to put it together, and it saves you on shipping. If you want to use a different scope, you can do so. As you notice, it has a rail on the top right here. But if you're getting this gun, it'll come with the scope, and go ahead and use the scope. It's really, really nice quality, as I've said, maybe about 5 times in the video before. So, but if you wanted to use something else, you could go ahead and mount it on this rail. Now, I believe that's everything. I don't have much more to say. It's a bolt action. It's very simple, one of the earlier forms of shooting. And not much more to explain than that. It's easy bolt, very, very fun to shoot, very, very nice. And I'll just add in one extra little piece of this gun shooting, just downrange shooting, that a little clip I added in the accuracy test, just so you guys can see what I mean by how accurate it is and how I was just kind of looking up and shooting. Note when I was shooting, like I said, I wasn't really aiming too much. I was just looking up, pulling the trigger, and looking back down. And most of the time I was still hitting it. So some of the accuracy there, and I know you guys want to see this shooting. So let's play that clip after I mention this. I also forgot to mention it has a cheek rest here. Just something important I thought I would mention. So cheek rest there, it makes it easy to look down the scope. So let's go ahead and play that clip of me shooting, and then it'll be the end of the video. So I will see all you guys next review. And we are out of BBs. Oh, something I forgot to point out. I actually have an extra in my vlog account, which will be a annotation right here. Go ahead and click it and go ahead and see that extra video. It's about the TSD L96, and it's about what happens when I'm usually filming. aka people randomly walking up and talking to you. It's something that is very common, and I figure people would be interested in the video, so click on the annotation right here and go ahead and see that video.